Florida State receives a tight end commitment. What does he bring to Tallahassee?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles, this commitment edition. My name is Brian Smith, and today's episode is going to focus on Chase Loftin, the tight end that just committed to the Noles. Please like and subscribe to this channel and share wherever possible. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Please go to linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more. Terms and conditions apply. Let's discuss Chase Loftin, what it means, what it's going to do for Florida State's class overall, the ranking, and what is next. All that right now here at Locked On Seminoles. Again, please like and subscribe. First off, 6'6", 215. He just transferred to Millard South. Last year, he had a good season, and he's just a really versatile tight end prospect. His high school that he was at last year used him more like a receiver. And again, Chase 6'6", 215. I'd imagine he's probably gone up a little bit, but that's the last time I spoke with him. That's what he told me. But he's a kid that you can put out wide as your boundary. Run a go ball, run double moves, etc. Really short, choppy feet in his routes. He's been coached. He's been coached pretty darn well. He'll make a move on a guy that weighs 50 pounds less than him and beat him. That's a great sign. That's why schools from across the country recruited him. He had offers down south. He had offers in, obviously, Nebraska, Iowa, those kinds of schools. But he's coming to Florida State because he kind of fits the offense, and that's my opinion. I'm waiting to hear back from him. But I really like this addition. Remember now, Florida State got Landen Thomas last year, another kid that's very versatile, very athletic. He's a little bigger, but it's the same deal. He can be split out. Florida State wants their tight ends to make plays in this offense. It's clear. 2 years in a row, a player that is truly capable of being split out. You could say nothing else you take from this podcast. That might be the most important thing. Florida State's offense is evolving, and they want more and more tight ends and big-bodied guys to create mismatches. Loftin will certainly do that. Some of the other things that I wrote down going back through his film again, I'd seen it several times, but he just sets up everything with his moves so well. He'll do the same motion out of his stance when the ball is snapped. He'll take the same approach, and he will go right at the DB, making them make a choice. And if they turn one way or the other too early, it's over. And then he will use double moves. He will use his shoulder, head fakes, etc., just to give a little bit of separation. And then, again, he's 6'6". So when Chase gets the football thrown towards him, he's a natural shield for himself. And he's got the long arms you would expect. He high points the football well, and he's a red zone target that not many DBs are going to do well against. Caught several passes down in the red zone, even when his quarterback was scrambling. That's the guy he looked for. That also tells you something. So it's going to be pretty interesting. The other thing that I liked about him is he's a physical player. He's not just a receiver. He's a guy in the screen game, whether it was a throw to the running back or one of his receivers, whatever, he'll go bury somebody. You got to do that if you're going to play major Power 4 football. Florida State obviously fits that mold. I think he's a kid that can play pretty early in his career. Might even be a guy that by the end of his freshman year gets some reps. But for him to really maximize, I think he needs to put on about 15, 20 pounds, be in the 235 to 245 range. Just depends on what they want to do with him, how much they want to use him in the backfield, at an H-back, tight end, etc., and not just flexed out. I mean, tight end is so versatile now and how you can define it in the different categories. I mean, he might be lined up in the backfield as a fullback if the team they're going against is using man coverage to try to get him on a linebacker, run wheel routes, etc. Give yourself an advantage. Chase Loftin has all those opportunities. And if you follow Florida State, you know that Norvell and his staff do a tremendous job of finding ways to get matchups. Loftin will be in that category. Here are his stats for last year. 34 catches, 440 yards, 12.9 yard average, and 6 scores. He also had a couple carries for over 40 yards. When he gets the football in his hands, Loftin is not just a guy that goes down or just runs over somebody, kind of flops over. You know, some of those big-bodied, old-school tight ends you would see in the NFL, just the muscle-bound guys, catch the ball in the red zone or a 3rd and 4, they just want the first down, didn't have many moves. That doesn't fit Loftin at all. He will make people miss. He will also fall forward. He'll get into a guy, hit him hard, and he'll slide off moving forward. He's always trying to get that little bit of extra. And he's also somebody that's pretty fast for his size. He ran some deep routes, and he looked natural. Like if you didn't know that, hey, he's a flex tight end, you would say, oh, he's a receiver. He has natural feet and a natural stride that it just embodies the term athlete, to be really honest. Good football player. Here are some of the rankings for him for what they are worth. 4-star by Rivals, On3, and ESPN. He is a 3-star by 24/7. I'm curious to see if he'll move up. It's a little more difficult to go up in the rankings when you're living in Nebraska. Not many guys scout out there, and more importantly, it's a situation where kids like this, they don't play national schedules very much. I went and looked at the schedule for Millard South, and again, it's a really good program. They don't play outside state, etc. He's probably not going to get scouted much, so it's going to be difficult in that regard, but the film doesn't lie. Like schools down south, Miami and Florida State, etc., looked at him. That tells you what you need to know, because those schools don't have to recruit the state of Nebraska. They don't. That's probably the other thing too. Rankings are one thing, but who offered the young man? He had a bunch of offers from around the country, the usual suspects in the Big Ten, but down south as well. One last thing on him. He is the 8th commitment in this class, and it's interesting. On3, they do their own rankings like everybody else. They have their own system. They have Florida State 9th, according to what I'm reading, and I find that very interesting because everybody's got different opinions, but they hold things in regard to where players are from, the consistency out of a high school for these kids to develop. Their system is really unique, and it's more about the upside of the kids combined with the traits from where they're from than just volume. Certain sites, it's a little bit more about just the number of kids that are committed. Like Syracuse, I think, no, Rutgers has got like 28 commits. So take that for what it's worth. They're not going to end up ahead of Florida State on the field or on the recruiting rankings either. But sometimes numbers are off. On3 is a little different. They got the Florida State 9th. To that point, Zay Thomas is expected to commit tonight. It'll be Florida State, barring something unforeseen. Clemson's going to come in second. It's the least kept secret in the recruiting world, and they have some other kids coming up as well. They're going to make decisions. I expect Florida State to do quite well over the next few days. Rainey Sale, the linebacker out of the state of Washington. I think they're going to get Wallace, the linebacker out of Georgia. I think they're going to get the next 3 to 5 days, and these commitment dates can change by the moment. Trust me, these kids make decisions to change what they're going to do on the timing, but Florida State should have a huge week of recruiting. I think that by the end of this week, they should be minimum at 10 commitments, if not 11 or 12, because there's a few other kids that could decide. That's just the nature of the beast. So Florida State recruiting is really looking up. Last thought here, Chase Loftin, again, a tight end that can play like a receiver. This is a young man, Florida State, with their offensive prowess, how they're trying to develop the offense to be even more versatile. Think of him a little bit like Bell from last year, but just taller, a guy that out in space could catch a screen, etc., and cause you problems in space. Florida State really wants to put a pressure point on every team they go against with their tight ends, and I think it's smart. Tight end is a great way to put teams in a really difficult position, because you come out with guys like Landen Thomas and Chase Loftin in your offense. Are they running power? Are they going to go spread? Are they going to do a combination? Are they trying to isolate? Or what? It could be any one of those, and oftentimes it's a combination, if not all of them, because Florida State will be at a schematic advantage with players that have these kinds of skills. It's a really good opportunity for Florida State, just to quite honestly be as difficult to prepare for as any team in college football. And, of course, that's always an objective. So that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Seminoles. Thank you for tuning in. And once again, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. And I will see you again very soon, because Zay Thomas is going to commit tonight.